Okay, welcome to part 2. All right, so we've got an activity that we're going to do here that's going to help you start to really find your personal values, and kind of like the time one that of the last part that we just did. This is going to get to like what you're valuing right now, for better or for worse. So it's good to start there, and then we can start making some intentional decisions. So for this activity, you're going to need 5 pieces of paper that you can write on and that you can rip up. Okay, so I want you to pause this video for a second, get 5 pieces of paper. Maybe they're pulled out of your notebook, maybe they're from, blank piece of paper from the printer, whatever it is. Get 5 pieces that you know that you can rip up and write on, and then come back. All right, so this activity I call 5 and 4. There are 5 questions, so 1 piece of paper for each question, and there's going to be 4 answers for each one. And then we will have, after we get all the answers, there's going to be more to do. So just stick with me for right now, okay? So go ahead and get your first piece of paper, and what I want you to do is I want you to tear it into 4 pieces. So 4 squares, 4 strips, however you want to do it, but take that whole piece of paper and turn it into 4 smaller pieces. Sometimes I might refer to these as cards, just because I've done this in the past with cards. Okay, so for this first one, what I want you to do for each of the 4 pieces, I want you to write down a physical object, product, or item that you feel you need to function on a daily basis. Now, you can't do more than 4. Each strip that you tore this into gets 1. Okay, so you can't do more than 4. You can do less. So if it's only 3 or only 2, then only write something on 3 or 2 pieces rather than all 4, okay? Examples would be cell phone, car, food, medicine, water, shelter, laptop, etc. But it's a physical object, product, or item that you feel you need to function on a daily basis. So take a moment, think about it, and assign 1 per each piece that you tore your paper into, okay? All right, next. Take your next piece of paper and rip it into 4. Now you're going to assign a geographical location that is especially important to you to the 4 pieces. So this could be a grandparent's house, the beach, someplace you've always wanted to visit, a place that you've worked or volunteered. Think about geographical locations that are especially important to you, right? Again, you can't do more than 4. You can only have 1 per piece. So that's 4 at the most, but you can do less. All right. Next, get your next piece of paper, rip it into 4. Now you're going to do, for each of the 4 pieces, you're going to assign a person who has made you who you are today, for the better or for the worse, or somewhere in between. Okay, so for each piece of paper, you're going to assign a person. Now, here's the thing. You can include pets, and you get the choice of putting all pets on 1 piece of paper or assigning them their own little strip, their own little card, okay? This can also include people who are deceased or someone that you've never met. So maybe it's an author or a celebrity or a character from a story. So these are people who have made you who you are today, for the better or the worse, and it can include pets. Okay, so this is the only one where you're allowed to have 4, and it's only if you have more than 1 pet to put on 1 card. Okay? All right. Let's go to the next one. Take your next piece of paper, rip it into 4. For each one, you're going to assign a personal or professional goal. It can be a short-term goal or a long-term goal. okay? And if you need to pause for a second, you may have already been pausing, but if you need to pause for a second to write these down, go ahead and do that. Again, no more than 4, but you can do less, okay? Oh, and by the way, forgot to mention this before. Once you've written those down, you're just setting them aside. We will come back to them in a minute, okay? You're just setting them aside for now, and we will come back to them in a minute. All right. And then finally, you're going to take your final piece of paper, rip it into 4. This one, I'm sure you probably will need to pause it because I want you to write down up to 4 significant memories. These can be positive, negative, or a mix. And I want you to consider memories of something that taught you a valuable lesson. Okay, so for each piece of each card or each little strip that you tore your paper into, write down a significant memory. Okay, and you should have about, you have all 5 of them done now. You've set them aside. We're going to bring them back together in just a minute. All right, once you've completed everything, I want you to go ahead and you should have about 20 little strips of paper in front of you now. And I want you to go ahead and spread them out and take a look. Just reflect at them. Reflect on your answers, okay? Basically, these 20 pieces of paper represent you. These are significant items, places, people, goals, and memories. Things that have made you who you are today. And we've basically boiled it down to these 20 right here. Okay? Now, we're going to start an elimination process. And this elimination process is symbolic, okay? I want you to take a look at all these. And I want you to start by removing 5. Now, when you remove them, this is symbolic, meaning that I want you to imagine that once you remove them, they no longer are part of your life. Okay, so you no longer have that item, you don't know that place or that person, you don't have that goal anymore, or you don't have that memory anymore. Okay, it is symbolic, but go ahead and pick 5 that you want to remove from your top 20. So take a minute to do that. Now, with the ones that are left, oh, and by the way, make sure when you start eliminating, you can start with the blank cards. So you just go ahead and take away the blank cards first, okay? Now, once you've taken those 5 away, from the remaining ones, I want you to remove 4. So look at the remaining ones and remove 4. Items no longer part of your life, the place, the person. You no longer have that goal, you no longer have that memory, okay? Now, this is where the mandatory part ends, okay? So if you cannot remove any more, you are allowed to stop at this point. However, if you can, I want you to now eliminate 3. Take 3 more away from the remaining ones. Once you have done that, take 2 from the remaining ones. And once you have done that, take 1. 1 more. Now, if you were able to do the whole elimination process, you will be left with 5 cards. If not, you may have more. That's okay. But these are your top cards, okay? I want you to make a note of them because we will discuss them on our call. Now, we're going to use these to start naming your values, okay? So I want you to view each one. And now I want you to assign 2 representative words to each one and write them on the back. Now, remember I said, you know, these memories, these people, these places, whatever it is, you know, these are for better or for worse. So you may have some remaining that aren't necessarily the most positive memories or the most positive people in your life. They might be kind of negative. So some of these might be negative, but they might not be. A lot of them could be very positive. So I want you to start by kind of brainstorming what these representative words could be. Some examples might be support, pain, life-giving, burden, love, freedom, compulsion, adaptability. But if you can't think of representative words off the top of your head, then you can reference the action pack, because I do have a page in there with, I think it's like 250 words. Most of them are positive. So you can use that as a reference, but start by just kind of going with your gut and what you feel and see if you can come up with a representative word. So if you are able to assign 2 representative words for each card and you were able to eliminate, do the whole elimination process, then you'll have about 10 values, okay? I want you to review all these representative words. These are your values as of right now, for better or for worse, okay? Take a moment to think about, you know, what you feel about that. I want you to think about if you will keep them all or if you will let some of them go. Are there aspirational values, values that you want to incorporate into your life more that are not on this list already? Now, in your action pack, you will find towards the bottom your journal prompts for the week. And the first one has to do with your values. It says, my values are, and here's why. So I want you to kind of marinate on all of this. Think about it. Think if these are the ones that you want or not, how you feel about it, if you want to add to them or change them. And then when you get to that journal prompt, I want you to write down your values, what you want them to be, what they are, what you want them to be, and why. And let me just tell you about the journal prompts really quickly. For each module, you will have 3 journal prompts. So they're not to be done hastily, they're not to be done right away or even back to back, okay? I want you to have 3 days spread out in your week where you take a moment to sit down and journal. And you don't have to journal forever. It can be 10 minutes, it can be 5 minutes, it can be 15 minutes, it can be 30 minutes, whatever feels right to you. But go ahead and pick a time of day that you will likely do this. It could be in the morning, it could be right before bed, it could be in the middle of the day when you want to take a break. But I do want you to make sure that you journal spread out throughout your week. So really give yourself time in between them, okay? And like I mentioned in the intro, I'll ask you about these. If you want to talk about them, you can. You don't really have to. Now, we are going to talk about this activity. We may even talk about what your top cards were. But how far into what you wrote about in your journal is up to you, okay? All right, that's all for part 2. I will see you in part 3.